Hello everyone, my name is Corinne and today we are going to go over classroom management and behavioral issues. So in this training we will cover some main rules for the classroom, some management basics, common reasons for bad behavior, and if your students do start to become disruptive, how to regain control again in the classroom. Okay, so here are some main rules. This is for your students to follow while they are in your class. So the first two, listen to the teacher and look at the teacher, are rules to help keep the focus on you and on the lesson. Hands up to answer is basically having the students raise their hands to answer instead of shouting it out. This will help you to keep control of the vibe of the classroom. And of course, no Chinese. This is an English class. Chinese is not accepted in the classroom. And of course, no drawing or writing unless asked to do so. When students start to draw and write of their own volition, it does create a distraction for the other students and for the student doing the drawing. So these are just some main rules to start off with. Of course, you can add your own once you get to know your students. In a couple of mine, I have added no shouting because I happen to have at least one student who likes to shout into the mic. So if you do run into these problems, go ahead and add rules to the list and go over them in the beginning of class. Okay, so here are some management basics. You want to set expectations clearly and in the beginning of class. You can do this by going over the rules, the main rules that we just discussed. That way the students know what is expected of them throughout the class. And then as the term progresses, then you just need to remind them of the class rules in the beginning of the class. And of course, if a student does start to become disruptive because they're not following the rules, you can just simply remind them during class. And of course, you do have the option to deauthorize students if they are not following the rules. So if they are drawing or writing and they're not supposed to be, you did not ask that of them, then you can deauthorize them. And of course, if you do deauthorize them, you want to explain to the student why you are deauthorizing them. You can do this by just simply reminding them of the rules. If you happen to have a student who is shouting or there's a lot of background noise in the student's video, you have the option to mute the students if they do become a distraction or if they're not following the rules. Like I said, I have a student who likes to shout. I have added no shouting to the rules. So if the student does start to shout again, I mute the student, explain why I muted the student by simply saying no shouting. And then if the student wants to participate again, I, of course, do a verbal agreement with the student. I ask them if they know why they are in trouble, so no shouting. Will they do it again? And you can do this using a yes or no question. That way, all they have to do is say yes or no. And then ask if they want to participate, ask if they want to play. They should say yes to this. If they don't, then continue to mute them and try again later. Students are more likely to behave and do what they say they will if they verbally agree to it. And of course, you want to be consistent. So commit to the same rules for every student. If you mute a student for shouting and then another student starts to shout, make sure you mute that student as well. Be consistent with every single student so that the students don't feel like you are playing favorites. And of course, this is very crucial. Follow through. Commit to what you say. If you say that if they shout again, they're not going to be able to play the game, then if they shout again, they cannot play the game. If they don't think that you will follow through on your threats, they are not likely to listen to you in the future. And at First Leap, we strongly encourage positive reinforcement. This is why we give trophies and we really encourage teachers to praise their students on good behavior and participation and vocabulary and speaking and listening and all of these skills. So you want to praise your students with the trophies and verbally, but you also want to be specific with the praise. So if a student is doing really well with the vocabulary, say, great job with the vocabulary, great job speaking, great participation, and things like that. So the students know what they are doing and why they are being praised. What are they doing well? And of course, if you have a naughty student who does start to behave well, be quick to praise them for it. And I mean be quick to praise them for it. This will encourage them to continue the behavior in the future if they know what they're doing, why they're doing it, and they get that instant praise of this is a good job. They are more likely to keep doing it because it will feel good to get that praise from the teacher. And of course, if you do have a student who is being naughty, instead of just punishing them by muting and deauthorizing them, it might be better considering the situation. I mean, that's up to you as the teacher. But it's also really good to reward all the other students who are behaving well and saying why you are rewarding them. This way, it'll encourage the student who is behaving naughty to start behaving well as well because they want the trophies. So you give the trophies to all the other students who are behaving well and then ask the other student to behave well as well so that they can get a trophy too. And of course, at the end of a lesson, we have the podium. So you want to acknowledge the students with the most trophies at the end. You want to create a competition. You want students to really try to do well. That's what these trophies are for. It's for the bragging rights. And so you want to acknowledge the students, who's number 1, number 2, and number 3, and say why. Tell how many trophies that they have. And then you can give out medals. You can give out more than one medal. So you have speaking, listening, vocabulary, and participation as the medals. So you can give these out to all the students and make sure you give out medals to students who were not on the podium, who did not get first, second, or third. That way every student can be made to feel special about their accomplishments and really try and pay attention to any improvements. You want to encourage these improvements. And of course, what we believe here at First Leap is that positive reinforcement is a motivation for the students to behave well. And I have seen it in my own classes and it does work really well. Okay, so here are some common reasons for bad behavior. So the first one is boredom. And this could happen to even the best of your students. If they start to get bored, they'll lose interest and they won't be paying attention anymore to the class. So in order to help with this, you want to keep the class interesting using various activities, using various tools, so not using the same tool for every single game. Also, if they start to get bored, pick up the pace of the class. But make sure that it's not too fast that the students can't keep up. Still try and check for understanding, and if they are good, then go ahead and move on to the next activity. And of course, another reason could be confusion. This is if the class is going too fast. So you want to have that balance of the pace. So when it becomes confusing for the students, then of course they lose interest, they don't see the point in paying attention because they don't understand it anyways. So when you are giving instructions, you want to be clear and concise and model and demonstrate anything new for the students so that they know what to do by looking to you as the example. And of course, you may have students who just want attention. And at home, they may get attention by behaving badly. So this is actually a very quick fix and is something that we strive for in our classes anyways, and that's to praise good behavior. So every time that they behave well, praise them for it. Give them a lot of attention for doing well. And of course, you may have students who have developmental disorders. These should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. And the parents are usually your best allies with this. Talk to the parents about possible solutions, what's going on with the students, things like that, and have the parents help you out to understand their child and how you can help them better. And of course, you may just get students who are moody. They may be tired because it's late for them, or they may be hungry because it's dinner time, or they may have just had a bad day and are sad and angry. With this, the problem typically is temporary. It may just last for that particular lesson. So encourage them to participate, but don't pressure them too much. Eventually, hopefully, they'll start to participate, they'll get happier, especially with any fun, energetic games. And of course, if a problem persists, try finding out what's going on from the parents. Your parents, again, are your best allies for this. They know their child better than you do because they see them every day. So try and find out how to help them from the parents. And of course, this is very important. Always try to find out the why a student is behaving, because knowing the why will help you to come up with a solution that fits the student. Okay, so how to regain control if the students are acting up. First, you want to decide, is this a situation where you need to act immediately, or maybe it's better just to ignore it for now? So if you do decide to ignore it, it's because it might be a temporary problem. It might just be because the student is moody and things like that. So it will go away on its own. Then it's best to just sort of ignore it. If it is a major issue that needs to be solved now, then stop the lesson, mute all the students, deactivate all the students, bring down your video so that all the focus is on you. You want the focus to be solely on you. And then try to explain the problem and then set out your expectations of what you expect from the students. Try to explain what the solution will be. And so I hope this helped, and good luck with your classes, and thank you for listening.